Okay, we're going to do another tomato review today, and it's going to be on this tomato right here. And this tomato is called the Snow White tomato. And there's a little bit of drama associated with this tomato, based on some of what I read in forums and stuff about that, about the guy who actually created it. It's got a little drama associated with him, but that's a side point. It still seems like a pretty good tomato to me. I'm not quite sure what the drama is all about, but whatever I find, I'll try to put in the descriptions, either on my website or in the description below. But there is something associated with this as far as drama goes. Now, this is a cherry tomato. I do grow the white cherry tomato. There is a tomato out there called the white cherry tomato, but they're not quite as robust as this thing. They don't quite get as large as some of these cherry tomatoes are getting. I mean, these are rather large. Okay, so keep in mind that if you grow these in full sun, they'll probably get very, very white on you instead of getting black. They just don't get black, this type of tomato. It's got like an albino gene or something in it. But when you grow them in full sun, it looks like they're getting sun scalded, and they're not. It's just the color of the tomato, and they get really, really white. So let's give you a better look at one of these. It's a gorgeous tomato. Look at that. Snow White tomato. Now, they call it white, but it's not truly white. But then again, if you expose it directly to sunlight, it will get like bleached, like a white bleached color to it. Doesn't look right. It looks like it got sun scalded. That's the only way to describe it. So I don't have any here that are showing that, but I have. There's plenty of tomatoes still in the garden. This is just what I was able to get off of there. That's actually ready to do a review on. So I figured I'd yank these off and get this review done. So that's it. Let me show you the inside of it, and then we'll throw some of these on the scale. All right, there you go. That's what it looks like on the inside. It's quite beautiful. Look at that gel around the seeds. It's almost majestic looking. It's very thorough in color. So we're just going to move that over here. You should be able to see what it says once I fire it up. A little sideways, but you can get the gist of it. Just give you an idea on what the actual weight of each one of these are. We'll pick one of the large ones. You're talking about 0.4 of an ounce. Here's another one here. 0.4. Grab a smaller one. Might not even register some of these small ones. 0.3. So you get a gist. You can get the gist of what they weigh, just so you know. Because a lot of people go by weight for some reason, but that's what they weigh. They're basically a cherry tomato. They're kind of on the larger side for the most part. They're pretty good size, and they're not perfectly round and uniform. They do get kind of sometimes oblong or off-shaped a little bit. They're not perfectly round. They're a little bit. If you look at them, some of them actually look just like a cherry. If you look at it, right? That looks like if you put a stem on that and came off, you'd say, "Oh, that was a cherry." You know, it's got a beautiful shape to it. So yeah, you can see on the bottom they get really white. So they're not pure white, but all these cream-colored tomatoes they call white tomatoes. But I have seen tomatoes that get ghostly white. They're very strange looking. Tomasol is actually one of them. So let's do a Brix on this and get an idea what the Brix has to say. For you Brix lovers out there, I know some of you guys are Brix. You only go by the Brix. All right. 5 on the money. 5 on the money. So it's not going to be incredibly sweet, but then again, you got to keep in mind when I do a Brix reading, the majority of the time it's reading the sugar in it, but you got to keep in mind that it's also picking up other stuff inside the tomato. You know, it's picking up the nutrients, the minerals, everything that's in that juice. It's going to pick up everything. That's why when you calibrate these, you calibrate them to distilled water, which has nothing in it, and that's how you zero it out and calibrate it. And these tomatoes here, you know, they're going to have all kinds of stuff in it. It's going to have enzymes, it's going to have the sugar, it's going to have the starches, it's going to have minerals, it's going to have all kinds of stuff in it. So the number isn't just picking up sugar, but sugar makes up the large majority of what's in that liquid. All right, so let's get right down to the taste test here. It's very nice. It's very smooth. Okay, so let's get into the numbers. Okay, let's back you out a little. Okay, first thing we're going to start off is with the sweetness. Sweetness was a little bit better than the average, which would be 50% of 50 would be 25. So it was a little bit better than that. We'll say 26, 27 on the sweetness. Wasn't incredibly sweet, but it had a nice sweetness to it. It wasn't like overwhelmingly sweet, or it wasn't undersweet. You actually were able to pick up on the sweetness. It wasn't very long lasting, but it was very nice. It actually added a mellowness to the tomato as far as the flavor goes. So I'm going to say about 26, 27 on the sweetness. It was somewhere right about in the middle. Now the tangy part, that was somewhere around, it was a little, again, that was like a little bit better than Midway as well. I'd say that thing was probably somewhere right around 26, 27. It's basically almost perfectly balanced with the sweetness. They were both right in the middle. They matched each other really well. Now keep in mind, that was kind of on the low side, but they were balanced. So they worked out pretty good. Now the tomato flavor was pretty nice. It was a little bit better than an average tomato flavor. It was very mild and smooth. It had a nice rich type of flavor, and it balanced off really well with the tangy and the sweet. It was a very good combination of all three of them. So the tomato flavor itself, if I was to rank the intensity of the tomato flavor, I would say it was probably a little bit higher than average, which is 50%. And so in this case, from 1 to 10, we're going to say about 6, 6.5, 10 being the highest. And the tomato flavor was about a 6, 6.5. So it was a little bit above average. And it was very nice tasting. It was very smooth. But the aftertaste that went to the back of your tongue wasn't very long-lived. Now, I ate some with the seeds and without the seeds. And with the seeds, it hung around a little bit longer. Without the seeds, it dissipates very quickly, so you lose the flavor very fast. But it's still a delicious combination of tomatoes. It's a very good blend so far of the tomato flavors and the tangy and the sweet. It's just very mild in flavor. It's not very high. It's just kind of, it's a little, if you were to put all three of those together, the whole thing was a little bit below average, if there is a way to put that. It's too many things to average out. It was just the whole flavor profile was kind of on the lower side, but they were all balanced with each other, and they taste good, to be honest with you. You just need to eat more of them. Moisture was right up in there. I'm going to say it was a 7 on the moisture. There was plenty of moisture in there. It was able to deliver the tangy and the sweetness and bring that flavor right to the back of your tongue. You absolutely have to have moisture, because if the tomato is dry, you are not going to get that effect. And it's going to have a chalky feeling in your mouth. Your mouth is going to start to feel pasty, and it's going to feel a little bit dried out because the tomato, it just doesn't have the moisture to supply to bring that effect through. So when you have the moisture in there, I always try to mention that too. When you have that moisture in there, it delivers the whole package to that part of your tongue where it needs to go. So you need that moisture. If it's dry, it's no good. You got to have that at least. You want to be at least somewhere around a 5 on the moisture. If it starts going too far below 5, now you're getting into the chalkiness of it, the dry and chalkiness. And I hate tomatoes like that. Okay, tardiness. There was no tardiness in it. It was basically 0 on the tardiness. It was pretty smooth in flavor, so there was no tardiness. No undertones at all. It was a pretty much straightforward flavor, so you don't have any oddball kinds of earthy tones or anything like that. It was just straight tomato flavor, and you were good to go. Texture was pretty nice. I'm going to give that a 7 on the texture, because the texture was actually pretty good. It was nice and firm, yet when you ate it, it chewed up nice, and the skins broke up with the tomato itself, so it was very nice. You were able to chew it up very easy. Skins didn't get stuck to the roof of the mouth. It was a very good combination as far as the texture goes. So that was definitely good. That's a 7 on that one. Production-wise, very good producer. I'm going to give that an 8 on the production, because there is a ton of these tomatoes on that one plant. Even though the plant got hit with some early blight, took off a lot of leaves, the plant's still producing tons of these tomatoes. And I'm going to have a job coming in about the next month or so. Once they all come into ripeness, that's going to be a lot of work to process all them tomatoes. I mean, there's a good amount of them on there. So definitely pretty impressed with it. Again, we're giving that an 8 on the production. And so what is my overall general, how would I rate this tomato as an overall general, from 1 being like your number 1 tomato? I would definitely rate this one up there about an 8. It's pretty nice. It's an even flavor. I would have no problem serving this in salads to my guests, knowing that some of them might be sensitive to tomato flavors. I have no problem. It's a very pleasant to the palate. It's also very pleasant to the eyes because it's interesting, and people would ask, oh, what's that? What kind of tomato is that? It's white. I never seen that. It's a good conversation piece. So I would have no problem adding that to salads. Now, if I was to rate the tomato, I would rate the tomato at probably not an 8. That's the other way around. 1 being the highest. I would rate this tomato probably about a 3 on the scale because of all the things I just said. So it would definitely be around a 3. Now keep in mind, all these things that I'm talking about, this is all based off of eating the tomato raw. We're not talking about cooking it or processing the tomato. We're referring to these tomatoes as if they were raw. Once you process the tomatoes, a lot of these things go out the window and it turns into basic tomato sauce. So you're going to just generally get a good tasting tomato sauce. But eating them raw is really where these reviews are really focusing on. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. So, I mean, there's really not much more to say about the tomato other than it's a good tomato. I definitely give it a grow. It's a little bit bigger, a little bit better than the standard white cherry tomato. So this is a good choice for you if you want to get something maybe a little bit different. But it's a good tomato. It's got a nice flavor to it. And basically that's it. That's your review for the Snow White tomato. I am going to leave the information for this tomato in the description of this video. And I'm also going to put it on my website. And keep in mind, if you're coming to this video down the road sometime and you're reading the description, you might want to visit the website to see if I updated the description for more details, in case you're doing research or you want to know more about the tomato. Because I make updates on the website and I don't always update the video. So make sure you visit the website to see if you can get all of the details you're looking for. And I will also leave a link in the description where it'll take you over to that web page. And you'll be able to buy seed for this tomato directly over there. Alright, so that's pretty much it, guys. That was your tomato review for the Snow White tomato. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care.